Hi, everyone. This is Candy Johnson. I am your host, and this is Real Talk, brought to you by Real Raw Records. Today's topic is transgender equality. I really think this is a very controversial topic, but necessary for discussion. Mainly not just because it's controversial, but because of the importance of gender and sexuality in our society, okay? And the reason why gender and sexuality is important in our society is who your gender uh, basically defines who you are on a lower level of importance, but because it's been magnified in our society, the importance of the gender, then that's what makes it a necessary topic, something that's needful to discuss. With the issues of people saying, hey, I might have been born a woman or a man, but I have an attraction to the opposite sex, or I feel that my feminine side, for the men, I feel that my feminine side is more dominant, or my female side is more dominant for the female transgender. And when the reason why I worded it that way, of your female or male side being more dominant, is because not only is it my belief that all people, all human beings, have both a feminine and masculine nature. So for some of us, or should I say, when I say some of us, I mean as people, the human race. For some of us, our male or female side may be more dominant, although our physical attributes clearly dictate that we are one gender or over the other. For example, you have women such as myself. I am very tomboyish. I am very tomboyish. I was raised around a lot of women. However, the men seem to have a greater effect on me in my environment. I loved being around my grandfather and hanging with him, and I would cry if I couldn't. And I love being around my father. So yeah, I'm a daddy's girl. Okay, so I have a lot of female. I have. It's clear, by my physical features, because I'm very shapely. It's clear by my physical features that I am a woman. However, because I'm so tomboyish, some people mistaken me for being transgender because I'm so tomboyish. I drive a truck, I talk real strong sometimes. I have a very dominating or domineering type of characteristic. I'm very business minded. I'm not I am somewhat emotional, and I guess you would consider that to be my feminine side. But I was trying to point out some of the masculine things, characteristics about me that are a little more dominating, all right, than my female characteristics. I wear ties. I kind of dress half and half, sort of, because people consider hats and ties to be male or masculine thing. Because men were the ones who originated, I'm assuming, with wearing the ties, but I do wear ties. I have a gazillion ties. I love ties. That's just my style. I think it's funky. I like wearing ties because it's different. To me, wearing a tie is not, my purpose for wearing a tie is not to be manly. It's actually just to be different. And I wear ties the same as other females wear a necklace or those scarf thingies, you know, the sashes or whatever like that. You know, they're the girly stuff. I don't like girly stuff, you know, flowers and pink. I hate pink. I hate it. I don't like flowers. I don't like nothing flowery. I don't even like real flowers. I don't think they're beautiful and awesome and, you know, glorious. I don't like flowers. I like foliage, like ivories and stuff like that. Greenage, you know. I love green plants and stuff. So in that in that perspective, people may view me as being transgender, okay? And I've even had people to ask me, was I transgender, you know? And I laugh, and I don't get angry about it. People questioning me about whether I am a real female or not, because I understand that in our society, a lot of men has transformed their physical features to look like a woman. And so that confuses people. So the only way that they're gonna know what you are as far in terms of sexuality or gender is to ask. So I don't find it offensive for people to ask. I've even had people to assume it and not even ask. And when they find out later that I am a, you know, I was born a woman. All right, when I say a real woman, I was born one. You know, I have a vagina and I didn't pay for it, you know, and everything. They are very apologetic. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I tell them, don't worry about it, because I do understand that because of the mass, you know, there's this, it seems like an epidemic of people wanting to change their genders, whether it be from male to female or female to male. That is very understandable to not know or to make some assumptions based on appearance, okay? Or just people's idealism of what male and female is so confusing nowadays. It used to be clear cut. This is a woman and this is a man, you know, but because of the change in our society, the changes, you know, over a period of time, and this is a new day and a new era, with all the different types of sexuality now, it's a reason for people being confused as to what is what, okay? And in all fairness, I think that the transgender community, if they really wanted to be fair, and I notice they are, you know, pushing for equality and to be treated like normal people, okay? I mean, when I say normal people, meaning people that are rolling with their natural born sexuality, they want to just be treated normal, but at the same time, you got to, if you want to really be fair, then it would be fair for you to be fair, if that makes sense. I told a friend of mine, Francis, who is a transgender male, I'm assuming she wants to be referred to as she, but she has a had a video she put up about someone else's video about a list of things that you shouldn't say to a transgender. And when I was watching her video about that, and she was responding to some of the things that the other transgender friend of hers had made the video and a list of things that you shouldn't say to a transgender, some things that she predominantly agreed with. But I wanted to bring to light this perspective of fairness, okay? Because although I think it's very unfair for people to be homophobic and hateful, vicious, and say evil, wicked, mean things to transgenders or people that are gay, you know, in the gay community in general. I think it's just generally a horrible thing to insult anyone for that matter, okay? So when I say it's mean what people are doing, I'm saying it's mean to do any human being that way, to judge them based on their appearance, their sexuality, or anything topical, you know, whether you're skinny or big, you know, that's just mean. That's just mean. And it has no substance, has no purpose that's positive. So when I think about things, and I like to think about things before I form an opinion about it, when you think about it in general and not just the sexuality, it's mean to treat anybody mean for no reason, all right? You know, or for shallow or topical reasons. It's just mean to do that to anybody, all right? However, I think that the transgender and the gay community really needs to focus in not so much on how should I say, demanding rights from the heterosexual community, but commanding it, okay? And the reason I use those two different words is because they have two different meanings. When you demand something, it's forceful. It's against someone else's will. When you command it, that is more of a respect given by right, okay? So in other words, I'll give you a good example. The Black community or race of people have asked for rights to be treated, for us to be treated like humans. And I noticed that the gay community a lot of times associate themselves with the Black race and their struggles. However, the Black race has not made a lifestyle decision to be Black. We were born this way, all right? So in that regard, yes, it's totally and completely different. And I really want to have broadcasts that will really go into depth of the difference between the two. But just for the sake of this particular topic, I want to use that as an example that Black people many times will demand respect and then behave disrespectfully. Okay, and that's how should you say, that's defeating the whole purpose. When your whole purpose is to get respect, to gain respect, then wouldn't it make sense to behave respectfully? That is what I mean by the difference between commanding respect and demanding respect. If you try to force people just to respect you just because, then that doesn't work over too well. But from what I found, even with dealing with people that are knowingly racist, they have literally told me that I don't generally like Black people, but I respect you. And they'll go on to explain why. And they'll say, you do this and you do that. You carry yourself like this, respectfully. All right. So when we're asking for things, we need to be cognizant of, am I deserving of what I'm asking for? And that's a very important aspect of getting respect and maintaining it. Okay, in any arena. All right, that goes for female situations. A lot of the feminists are demanding respect. However, they're carrying themselves disrespectfully. Okay. That's just like a hoe acting like a hoe, and then they get mad because the men whistle at them and do nasty, vulgar gestures at them, but they behaving horribly. All right, okay, or disrespectfully, should I say? All right, now let's get to this list right quick because I really want to get into talking about this list. One of the questions that Frances said, and I was hoping she said she was going to come in and give her perspective. Then I've been trying to contact her, and I did leave the link for her to join us, but it's understandable that it is a very courageous thing to do to face people. Okay. One of the questions that the transgender community is saying that is they consider as being disrespectful. Now, this is another thing. They got a whole list of rules in the transgender community that they feel that that they've made subconsciously between them, but none of the heterosexuals know about these rules. So if a person approach you and ask you these questions, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're intending to be disrespectful, okay? Because people are inquisitive. And I don't think it's a sin or it's wrong or disrespectful to be inquisitive. All right, so I'm glad I just, topically I've addressed that about being inquisitive, because I think a lot of these questions that have been banned by the transgender community, I don't think they really realize that these are just inquisitive questions that anybody would ask, and some of them are even questions that are asked of heterosexuals. So it's not, I wouldn't consider them to be disrespectful, being that they are just questions that are raised because of the difference of the lifestyle. All right. Now, first question is, have you had an operation? All right. Because of the known transition, as they call it, from one gender to the other, people know that people get operations to change their, sex, their private areas and stuff like that, or get boob jobs or any other type of facelifts and, and bone structure, getting the Adam's apple removed and things of that nature. So people are just inquisitive, especially when you find a man that looks very closely to a woman. That definitely raise questions, for someone who's just inquisitive to know, have you gotten the operation yet? It's just more of the fact that they're curious. Okay, so I think in that regard, I think the transgender community should just kind of keep in mind that people are inquisitive, and it's not disrespectful to be inquisitive. Okay, children ask the weirdest questions. Okay, will we consider a child to be disrespectful because they ask something that we are uncomfortable with asking? No, we don't. So that would be wise and fair. We're talking about equality, right? So equally, when people ask a heterosexual some of these questions, we don't get angry about it, or we don't consider it disrespectful. So if you want to be treated equal, then you should neither. Real talk now. This is real talk. Do you still have a penis? Okay. Quite naturally, that's a question that's being posed to a male transgender into female. All right. Like I said before, people are just inquisitive. Ooh, have you tried? Especially the men. Men have a lot of emotional attachment to their penises. So the men are very inquisitive to say, man, did you do it? Did you chop off your wing, man? That's just something that's of importance to them, whether they heterosexual or homosexual. They want to know that, man. You didn't mess with the wing, did you? And so that's just a man thing. If people are asking any of these questions to you personally, if a person is just you should know the difference in the way they ask the question, whether a person is just being vicious and facetious, or they are inquisitive. Okay. And I really do think it's a difference. It's a big difference. It's such a big difference that unless you just purpose in your heart to take an offense to these questions, then I don't think they are generally meant to be facetious or disrespectful. All right, another question. The next question is, which restroom do you use? Okay, that is certainly something that people want to know. Okay, because the women are thinking, wow, is it a man coming in the women's restroom? Mind you, they're sending their children in there. Okay, some kids are old enough to go to the restroom by themselves unattended. And so I don't think it's unfair for people to want to know, like, which restroom you're going in, and you're a man. I should say you were born a man. Okay. That is fairly and justly a cause for concern. Okay. I'm sure you want to be treated fair, but in all fairness, you gotta give what you want in return. Okay. And it is fair to want to know if your child is if your female child is in the restroom with a male. Okay. Real talk, real talk. I know some people are very um, anal about pedophilia and their association with pedophilia to homosexuality or the gay community. All right. Now, because of the statistics, again, they have every right to be a little concerned about that. Okay. And any parent will be a lot of concerned about a pedophile, in close proximity with their child. I am not saying that all transgender or gay community people are pedophiles. What I am saying is that the reason that a parent or someone with a child or someone concerned about children being in the bathroom with the opposite sex is because of the issue of pedophilia. Okay. So let's be clear. I'm not saying that the gay community are all pedophiles. That's not what I'm saying. In all fairness, that is a fair question or concern. All right. Next question. How do you have sex? Like I said, most of these questions are really just general questions of curiosity. Some people will ask these questions and they might not even want you to just go into detail, but they're just curious. They're just curious. All right. I think that how do you have sex is a bit too personal. Now that one I agree. That's a little too personal. And I've had people that ask me where my tits real, I mean, just straight out. Are your boobs real? Because they big and they abnormal, and they know people get surgeries and things like that. So I've had both male and female to ask me, are they real? And the females will say, can I touch them? Like they want to touch them, see if they're real, and stuff like that. And they really sincerely don't mean any harm. They just curious, They might not have no tact, no home training, to know or not know that that's not something you ask somebody to touch their breast, But some people are just inquisitive like a child and they don't mean no harm. They really don't. I usually laugh when people ask me, is my breast real? And I tell them, yeah, these mine right here. These mine. I ain't pay for them. These things that knots just grew up on me, Shucky. Anyway, but I do understand that because people get surgeries and stuff like that, people want to know, is they real or aren't they? All right. Calling a T-girls sir or mister. Okay. I don't even know what I didn't even know what a T-girl was. I had to look this up. I'm saying that to point out the fact that I think it would be fair for you all to understand that whatever your terminologies are for transgenders, it's unfair to automate a requirement that people call you what you feel like you are, all right, or what you think you are, or whatever like that, because I have met some T-girls that don't care if you call them sir or ma'am, they don't care about it. And then you have some that just get a real nasty attitude because you call them sir. So I think that, if you just got a nasty ass attitude, don't expect no equality and don't expect no respect. Because if you're not understanding of the fact that this is something different, something new to our society, we don't just automatically know. There isn't a book of rules in our minds to tell us what is okay to say or how to approach you all in a way that you personally consider as being respectful or disrespectful. As long as the person not calling you it, then that would be very disrespectful. But calling you sir or mister, and you were born a man. Some people that don't believe in transgenders or people changing their genders or sexuality, they may say, hey, no, I'm going to call you what you were born as. And it's unfair to try to make them call you what you want to be called in that regard. It is a bit unfair. Now, for me, I personally prefer to call a person whatever they have told me that they want to call. Like Nadia, she prefers to be called she or her, or referred to as a female. Okay, now I won't ever call her a woman, but when I refer to her, because she has already made it clear to me what she wants to be called, then I called her, all right? But when a person doesn't know what your preference is being referred to, or if you have one at all, and then it's not necessarily disrespectful to call you whatever, gender you was born as, all right? In all fairness, when we're talking about equality, we need to be fair, all right? How can you have, how do you plan to have a family, all right? That is another one of those questions of just being inquisitive, people being inquisitive. Also, people are concerned with two males raising a child or two females, that the child would be confused. So that's just one of those issues that raises concern. And so it wouldn't be, in all fairness, that's not disrespectful to be inquisitive about that, when did you decide to be a transgender? Well, how in the world would that be disrespectful? People just don't know. They're asking because they don't know, and they're curious. Wow. Some of the expectations, I think, of the gay and transgender community are unrealistic, very unrealistic, and unfair. Actually, unfair to the heterosexual community. The expectations are unfair. Okay, it's what I'm saying by it's unfair. All right, the expectations. What did you look like before? Okay, that's another one of those things that just people are just curious. And when we talking about inequality, inequality should apply to whether you're dressed as a man or a woman. If you're qualified for a job, you should get the job. Okay, that is something necessary to fight for equality for. Because in all fairness, if you're qualified, you should get the job. Simply put. Now, if it's a gender-oriented job, then you shouldn't be angry if you're not allowed in if it's a gender-oriented job. And I say the same thing for the feminists that have a problem when they're not allowed in certain things because of the gender. I say the same thing because I'm fair. I like to be fair. And equality is about fairness. And I think that fairness needs to generate from both sides of the spectrum. I sure hate that Frances didn't join us, but I'm glad I did still have some information from her video footage to still hold this broadcast and point out some very important and vital aspects of the gay transgender community. As always, I don't care whether you LGBT or heterosexual, keep it real or take your ass back to fantasy land.